Hello everybody and welcome back to Tropic Astrology. I'm happy to be making another video again, especially because it's such a special occasion. Jupiter has just moved into the sign of Leo. Now, Jupiter is the biggest planet. It's also a fire sign, and Leo is Leo. And so we can expect this next year that Jupiter is in the sign of Leo to be pretty combustible, pretty bright, pretty exciting. A lot of high kinetic energy happening. So I wanted to come in today and make a video all about Leo and really talk about these deeper fundamental meanings and symbolisms behind the sign of Leo and the being of the sun. Now, the sun, it's hard to overstate the influence of the sun. The reason that there is life on this planet and that I am even talking to you right now from this little biological body that I'm in is all because of the sun, and that it is exactly the way that it is. The sun makes up of 99% of all mass in our solar system. So that means that if you took every single one of the planets and debatable planets and you mashed them all together, and then you took all of the energy that they're made of and mashed that all into the pot as well, the sun would still be 99% bigger and more energetic than all of that stuff combined. That is massive. That is inconceivably massive. And Sol, the name of this star, it's a tiny little star in comparison to all of the other stars out there in the universe. So the levels of energy, the levels of fire that we're talking about here is really inconceivable. You literally cannot imagine the magnitude of our sun. And so that it's the exact distance away from our planet. You know, if our planet were a couple centimeters closer or a couple centimeters farther away, it would be either too hot or too cold to sustain life. So, you know, the essence that this star is in such perfect balance with our little planet that it creates such beauty and such wonder and such majesty. That is all the root of the nature of Leo, the nature of the astrological symbolism of the sun in your chart. It's really the center of your being. You know, as the sun is the center of our solar system, the sun is the thing in your chart, and Leo is that part of your personality that is very core, that everything else in your reality seems to revolve around this one central theme. And so that's why in natal astrology, the position of your sun in not only the sign but also the house that it's in has just as much influence over the character of your sun. And so when I do astrology for people, I often describe people by not only the sign that their sun is in, but also the house. And so that's really the fundamental character of your being. It's in this lifetime, I am expressing this very, very fundamental core theme throughout my entire life. Everything in my entire life that ever happens to me will all be revolving around this one central theme. Now, the reason that is, and so this gets into this deeper philosophical understanding of what Leo is. Jupiter's all about the philosophy, so let's get to the heart of the truth of the meaning here. So, if you look at fire, let's just look at fire for a second. That's why I have this candle here, because just by understanding something about the very fundamental aspects about fire, we can learn a great deal about the symbolic meaning of these astrology symbols. So, I have here, this is just a eucalyptus leaf that I pulled off a tree outside, and I have this candle here. So when I'm lighting this, when you're seeing this leaf burn here, what you're witnessing is it's a chemical reaction, but a reaction of such intense energy. This energy is moving so fast, it's moving at such an incredible rate that it disintegrates the physical matter, all of the carbon, all of the oxygen, all of the little physical elements that once made this leaf gone, completely gone. And so fire, the essence of fire is hot intensity of an energy, a burning, a consuming. You know, fire. The fire on this candle is consuming the wax and the wick in the combination, and you know, as I burn these leaves, you know, this fire is consuming the matter and the energy within the leaf. You know, it's releasing the energy in the leaf. And I don't know if any of you have been reading my blogs, but I just wrote a blog about the planet, or the asteroid Vesta, and the nature of the sacred hearth, and the reason that, you know, ancient cultures and even in, you know, our civilizations today, fire is looked at as something sacred. It's looked at as something so pure, purely spirit, purely of this other realm. You know, that it's revered as its own being. You know, up until about the 1600s, it was believed that fire was actually a spirit, and they called it phlogiston. And they said that this spirit was responsible for the phenomenon of fire, and that's actually the origins of the science of chemistry is the people trying to capture phlogiston. And so you know, a bunch of early alchemists and you know, pseudoscientists in the pursuit of phlogiston ended up discovering elements such as phosphorus and oxygen and, you know, pretty much everything else, and that led to the core understanding of our elemental universe. But fire is always deeply rooted in our consciousness, associating with the spirit and the spiritual realm. And that's very important, because if you look at astrology, and if you look at the nature of the sun in astrology, what it's telling you is it's telling you about this core spirit that you're emanating. And I like to associate the term fixed, you know, when you're talking about a fixed sign in astrology, I like to associate that word with law, natural law. So the fixed signs represent a natural law corresponding to each one of the elements. So Taurus is the law of earth, Leo is the law of fire, Scorpio is the law of water, you know, and the symbolic meanings behind that. But in particular with Leo, I call that the law of emanation, the law of radiation. Because if you look at fire, the thing that characterizes fire is that it affects, it influences, it radiates upon our world, and it has an undeniable and very kinetic, very physical, very powerful influence in our world. It's nature. Just the nature of fire is so dynamic. It's so powerful. There's just so much energy going on that through it doesn't. It's not intending to influence its world. It just ends up doing that. You know, if I put my hand to this candle, you know, I'm feeling the heat. You know, if this room were dark right now, this candle would be lighting up this whole space, and you could see me just because this flame is burning. Now, to take matter and to take a physical thing that's all dense and in a static state, and to release all of that energy as heat and light. It's not that the thing is going away, it's that fire is so powerful that it's transforming the very matter of this thing into sources of energy, different types of vibrations of energy, different wavelengths. You know, heat is actually a wavelength of the electromagnetic spectrum. It's just such a low vibration, and that's why you feel it so much. That's why, you know, heat will disintegrate your flesh, is because its vibration actually tears apart the molecules of a physical thing. And light, you know, that's something we still don't even understand to this day. We still don't have a clear perception of what light really is. And so you know, that's a very, very good description of what someone would call spirit, or what someone would call God, is this permeating, emanating force that exists in all the universe, that has this kind of indomitable control over its existence. And one wrong move, it will consume you, but use it within balance, and it will give you everything joyous, everything beautiful, and everything wonderful about life. So all of the fire signs, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, if you know any people with these very strong characteristics in them, you'll know that this is a very real kind of energy. These people in their lifetimes end up being very strong characters. They end up influencing and particularly falling into leadership roles in their communities. All of the fire signs have such a assertive and direct energy to them that they just kind of end up at the front of the line. They make their way there through sheer force of will. And so you know, that's an important thing to understand. So with Jupiter in Leo now, this essence of coming into our own spirit, this essence of understanding ourselves as not just physical static beings, but as energy, as pure and bright and powerful, as emanating as this. That's what we're really going to be focusing on over this next year. So let's talk a little bit more about Leo in particular. Let's talk about the symbol of Leo, which is the lion. Now, the lion is a very, very special, unique creature because it's the only species within the cat family that organizes itself into social groups. You know, they have prides of up to, 15, 16, even up to 20 members of a family. And now, if you know anything about cats, you'll know how kind of aloof and solitary they are. So this is a unique thing for this kind of animal to do. And if you look at lions and if you look at their role in their ecosystem, a lion is what biologists call an apex predator. Now, an apex predator is the top of its food chain in any given ecosystem. So large crocodiles, human beings, big cats, polar bears, killer whales, all of these things are the largest predators in their system. And so they don't really have any natural predators, so they end up at this kind of apex place, apex predator, over the entire ecosystem. And they actually play an extremely keystone role within that ecosystem. And as evidence of this, in 1995, a group of biologists reintroduced a population of timber wolves into Yellowstone National Park. They'd previously been hunted into extinction in that area, but they took these wolves and they put them back into the environment. They reacclimated them to the wild. And over the years, the researchers discovered something amazing, which was that because this group of wolves now entered the ecosystem, their dominant food source was elk and deer and large game. And so as they preyed upon the deer and the large game started moving out of particular areas, and their herds began thinning. There weren't as many of them. And because of this, sprouts of like oak trees and willow trees and very special kind of trees that the deer really love to eat all of a sudden began growing. And these trees brought in very specific species of different kinds of birds that were also once native to the park, but once these trees all disappeared, they all left because they really like nesting in these particular kinds of trees. And so on and so on and so on. The entire ecosystem of Yellowstone National Park was forever repaired. The damage that human beings had done with their imbalance was just undone by reintroducing wolves into the environment. Now, if you look at wolves in our modern culture, if you look at any of these scary animals like sharks or snakes or spiders or anything like that, they have such a terrible rap. But when you look at it from this realism point of view, these creatures are actually the governors of their entire ecosystem. Their role, what they do, just them being wolves or them being lions, that influences the entire health of the ecosystem. What kind of trees, what kind of birds, what kind of bugs, what kind of flowers and plants, all of that's influenced by this apex predator role. And so the lion is nicknamed King of the Jungle. Well, it's kind of a literal thing that they're talking about. Furthermore, if you look at lion society, male lions often get this bad rap as being lazy while the lionesses go and do all the hunting. But actually what's going on is a very sophisticated form of social order, because the lion's mane makes it impractical for it to hunt anyway, because it's like you see it coming up in the distance, all like tumbling along with this giant mess of hair, and so it's like, oh shit, there's a lion, let's go. But the lionesses are suited to hunt, while the male lions actually stay back and protect the young of the tribe. There's umpteen million different kinds of predators on the savannah. There's vultures, there's hyenas, there's wild dogs, there's other lion tribes, there's jaguars, or not jaguars, leopards, but there's millions of different things that are going to eat these babies if the mothers are all off hunting. And so the male lion actually forms this kind of solitary protective role over the entire tribe, and it's often the male lions that will either accept other members into the tribe or defend the pride from aggressive intruders. And so this in such a harsh environment of the savannah, it's an extremely efficient and effective way of keeping your family alive and thriving in such hot and dry nastiness. So from this example, what we see is that the symbolism of Leo is really all about this influential radiative effect of your being, of your spirit, of the very energy that makes up your identity, your personality, your behavior, and everything that you do or don't do in life. And so if you look at human society, and if you look at how human beings kind of interact with this role, you look at things like governments, and you look at things like monarchies and kingdoms, and how human beings kind of organize themselves, and how we model our behavior. And if you look at human behavior, and if you really explore the origins of, why do people act the way they do? Why do people think the things they think? Why is it that certain cultures believe the things they do and tend to express themselves in the ways they do? You can actually find the origins of a lot of these questions derive from specific people, specific individuals who end up just through their work, through their choices that they make in life, and how influential in their cultures and in their societies they become. They end up influencing people for generations and generations. Confucius is a really good example of, he was just a guy who had some good ideas about stuff, and then his students just wrote down all of his words and took it so seriously. They were so impacted by Confucius's message that they ended up forming an entire culture based off of his teachings. China, for the next hundreds of years, held the words, or the interpreted words, of Confucius as a testament to their whole civilization. And the same can be said for Christianity and Christ, or Islam and Muhammad, or Moses, or Krishna, or any of these masters, as they're called today. They were just beings who stepped forth with such authority, with such confidence in their own message and who they were and what they believed in. They said it with such heat and with such passion that it ended up catching fire. It ended up influencing so many people. And it's that force of expression that we are all capable of. And that's what Leo comes down to in astrology. Leo is that part of you that shines with an uninhibited force of your being and of your talent and of your unique special qualities. And if you think about it, it's those creative tendencies that you put out into the world with confidence and assurity that end up having the biggest influence. If you look at people like Leonardo da Vinci, or anyone within the 60s counterculture movement, anyone from Allen Ginsberg to Timothy Leary to Jimi Hendrix or Janis Joplin, these were all people who had a tremendous influence on our society. I even remember seeing this interview where a guy was talking to Chuck Berry, the old rock and roll guitar player, and Chuck Berry said to him, I think that we're doing as much with our music today as the people in Washington are with their laws in terms of civil rights and the integration of black and white culture in America. And in my opinion, they had an even bigger influence, because what Chuck Berry said is true. It was the very first environment in the 1950s in the United States with all of this racial segregation happening, you know, before any kind of laws were established to protect the rights of black people. You had black kids and white kids all together on the same dance floor, all dancing to a black man playing the guitar. Now, that like mending the racial divide wasn't in Chuck Berry's mind. He just wanted to play music that felt good. But the thing was is that authentic expression was so pure that its influence was profound. The light with which Chuck Berry shined, you know, everybody from John Lennon to Joan Jett, you know, everybody was influenced by his music. Me today, I was influenced by Chuck Berry's music. How many years later, 50, 60, 70 years later, people are going to be listening to Chuck Berry's music 100, 200, 300 years from now. That's the power of the creative expression. That's the power of your spirit and of the divine essence of fire that dwells within you. You have the capacity to influence generations, people you personally will never know. I'm probably not going to meet Chuck Berry, you know, but and certainly in a couple hundred years from now, when someone is playing a Chuck Berry record, he's not ever going to meet these people, but his influence is the same as if they were right there on stage. They're still being impacted. They're still feeling the heat and the light that came off of that creative output. And if you think of what a star is, it's ultimately a gigantic atom machine. It's a gigantic generator of all of the elements that we're made of. It fuses those molecules together into the oxygen and the iron and the hydrogen that you're all breathing. You're made of the things that came out of stars. So stars are factories. They're the most creative forces in our universe. And that's why Leos and people with strong Leo energy take to the arts so hardcore, is because that's the fundamental nature of all life, of the very essence of your existence, is to create. And so this is a time, the Jupiter in Leo, for us to get out there, get over our inhibitions, and create and put it out there for people to see. You know, Adele has won she has world records for albums most sold in the shortest amount of time, and most Emmys won by a woman. You know, she's won world records, and she started out on YouTube. Anybody is capable of this monumental, influential creativity, because it's what you're made out of. You're made out of the very essence of the creative force of this universe. So with Jupiter and Leo, that's the big key. Everybody get out there and start creating. You're going to be seeing some creativity out of me too. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but all of the music that I play during my videos, I make all of that. I'm fundamentally an artist and a writer, and I'm actually working with some friends on some really big creative projects, because I really believe that creativity and art and expression is the purpose of our existence here. You know, it's through these forces that we're able to make really great things happen. But in order to do that, we gotta have the courage of the lion, to get out there and make it, and to breathe the fire into it. All right, that'll be good for now. Catch up on my blogs. I've been doing a lot of writing lately, you know, kind of more up-to-date, moment-by-moment stuff in the astrology, and I'm also documenting some really big insights into the world of sciences and the arts that you should all definitely check out. I'm putting the links to those things in the comments down below. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Happy Jupiter in Leo, and you'll be seeing more from me soon.